Making sure unmuted. Cool. All right, welcome in. I am proud to be a part of this first event for the week. So we are here at the Geekdom or the DevSA co-working space. So thank you, Jesse, and thanks for the crew for being here to support us. Excited to have this space open and available. He's off in the background. So excited for this to be happening here. This is one of our first events here at Geekdom, and hopefully more to come. But without further ado, let's kind of kick it off. So we're here for the designing 2D games with purpose. But first off, why are we here? You want to get in on the action for the event happening this month. It is the VelociCode Hackathon Game Jam happening. You have had since June 1st till June 27th to submit a project. Your thing that you need to include is egg. Why that might not make sense right now, but go check out that QR code, check out the dev post online so that you can figure out what that means. So excited for y'all to get involved in that. But like I said, I don't want to spend too much more time. So design 2D games with purpose. We have Zell on stage here. So hello. Excited to have you, Zell. You ready to kick it off?
Yes.
Cool. Well, it's all over to you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. I just want to give a big shout out to everyone here that's helping provide this space and me a platform to speak to you guys. I want to thank Zach, Jesse, and Zach's teammate. The top Zach, I just barely mentioned. Yeah. So we're going to go into design with purpose. I want to say this is for games, but don't get me wrong, what I'm going to talk about can apply to a lot of things. It does say 2D. That is what I'm going to show you because that's what we were shown. But this can be a 3D if you decide to go that route. Just heads up, it's going to be a little bit more complicated when you're dealing with 3D. You're dealing with more than 2 points on a screen. You're going to be dealing with 3 points, and then that becomes more complicated. And then the practical technique. So what makes any kind of building from scratch, you kind of want to, or I would say, let me take that back. Let's see. So most games on a typical, let's say, Unity and Unreal have their own language they kind of gear towards you. I think Unity, correct me if I'm wrong with you guys, because you are more accustomed to the engines. I think it uses C#. Mm-hmm. Part of it. So, yeah. So that's what you're going to be using under it. And typically, it's going to be high inheritance when you're building, or if you build anything from scratch in there. And I think Unreal is C++. Yeah. So C++ is going to be Unreal. So when you're dealing with Unreal, you're going to have C++ to handle everything as far as what's under the hood. If you need to build a little array or of some sort, you're just going to be using Unreal's C++, and typically it's inheritance. So why am I talking about this? Well, there's another technique that I'm going to be discussing. Before I get there, I wanted to show you a small little quote that I want to introduce just because just add some thought to everything that I'm going to bring towards the whole idea of this. Is a quote from a Greek philosopher. His name's Heraclides. His quote says, "All things are in exchange for fire, and fire for all things, similar to wares for gold and gold for wares." So what does that mean? Why did he say that? And this is what they would do back then. They would just think about things. And this is how you should do that when you're developing a game, whether you're developing an application, is why you're doing it this way. And how can I take it to these next steps, next levels? I have a friend, William, that we always discuss these things in Discord, and it's just what we do. So I encourage you guys to do that. I encourage you to think about this quote for right now, and just kind of, I'll get to the meaning of it once we get towards the end, and once I finish all my presentation and the points topics I want to go to as far as like what we're going to talk about. And so, just a little thing to think about. So, if anybody has any questions before I move into this, okay, let's see. So, move forward. The technique is composition. I don't know if anyone knows what composition is or what it all is about, but it's very useful and it's used, like I said, in other applications, other types of frameworks, different applications. You're gonna see it a lot, especially if you're just dealing with some enterprise stuff, I believe. I've seen some of that as well. I know even at UTSA, we were taught this in our database management course. So a new professor had showed up and she was teaching us composition for databases and MySQL. So it is going to be it's going to be out there. You're going to see it. So it's a very strong principle when it comes to building a game, when it comes to building an application, when it comes to just building something that you want to use over and over again. And that's the idea of this, is I want to build a piece of a game, whether it's 2D, 3D, and I want to use this later on. Well, why, or what am I going to use? And there's inheritance, which a lot of people are familiar with. I don't know if anyone out there is very familiar with inheritance or what skill level anyone's languages and computer knowledge on that. So I don't want to get into too deep with this as far as like that side of things. We're just going to kind of stick with the principles and techniques. So what's in front of you is a diagram of what composition may look like. So this is UML diagram, and you can kind of see that everything's connected, but nothing is coupled too much to each other. And what does that mean? It means that if I were to remove said box or said table, this looks like a very well done diagram for database, to be honest. So if I were to take one of these away, I'm not going to be dealing with a headache later on because everything else in my game has been broken. And that's how you kind of want to think about this, is when I'm building a composition and I'm starting this, essentially you're not going to go into thinking that way. You're probably going to go into thinking about like what style of game you're going to build and what genre, things like that. And that's very important. I'm not going to say that's not, but there's other things to the game as well, and that's what this is. And in a lot of these engines, you're never going to really see these things because there's developers that are actually dealing with that behind the scenes that are showing you how to build it, or that are building it for you. So then you're just using the end result, which is easy a lot of the times. Like you're using an application with a GUI. It's very easy to use. It's very intuitive. It has all these nice little features. Well, how do you think they got there? It's because they use techniques like this. Composition is one of them that they may use. I'm not too sure. I don't know everything behind what's going on with Unreal or Unity. So that's just a cool little diagram of what composition is. I guess what we can do is go into like a simple code base robustness, which if you would say, of composition. And I don't know if anyone is familiar with this struct. I'm not too sure if anyone has any questions on what that might be or anything. What does that remind you of? You just said video or YouTube channel. And why are we using structs? Not something else, because I know other languages bring that. They use classes and some other things like that. So why struct? Why do that? Well, because we were taught this in our class. They give a big shout out to UTSA and San Antonio in that course. If you ever get a chance to attend it, I would highly recommend it. But so we were shown Golang, and Golang really is all about composition. And so this is a struct that instead of using what you typically do in a functional programming style of building variables, whether it's global or local, you're just building a set of variables and that's it. You just a line after line after line after line after line, which, it's great. I'm not saying that's not a technique you can't use, but there's other ways of doing it, and that's my whole purpose. Is there's other ways of doing things, and there's a little bit more flexibility, and it builds a robust code architect for you. And so this is an example of what it may look like, and how would this be utilized? You may say, it's like, where would I put this? Well, it kind of tells you right there. So in the title of the struct, it says it's a creature. Excuse me. So that creature can be practically anything. So that creature can be, I'm not too sure, like what would you, if I had to ask you guys, what would a creature to you be like? If you had to come up with something.
Like a monster,
yeah,
like in a, I don't know, like a minotaur.
A bird, a bear.
Yeah.
Well, exactly, that's what it could be. But the creature that's its base right there. So the creature it's given its position, which is your X position, flow 32, similar to what you do in like Unity or Unreal, but if you were handling it in those engines. But this is all being done from scratch. So you would be doing this all inside Golang, and then you would use I'll get to this, but a library called Graylit that would help you. I don't want to get too into that because that's one way of doing it, but there's other ways you can use. Like Python has its own game libraries that really help you out in doing that, and building whatever game it may be. I know, like I said, my friend Will, that's kind of how he started, was Python. And we kind of discussed these things like, what languages did you start on? It's like, well, that's up to you. That's really not, how do you really want to get into that? Well, we were fortunate to use Go because it's very modernized. It does a lot of things that C++ doesn't do, which is great. We were close to using C++ in that course. So it does handle a lot of your memory, and this would be your struct that you would use. Getting back to it, not going too far into that side of things, but it would be your bird. So let's give an example. So this struct is created, then you would go into it and create a function. The function then would be new creature. Let's say that. Typically, that's what I would call it. New creature. So the new creature has the parameters of these two things, which is a X and a Y position. It's float 32. So you're passing that into it. And you don't really need to return anything. You can if you need to, but actually you need to, because you want to store it in a variable after. So you would return that struct. So then when you go into your game, this is a little bit more technical. I don't want to get too technical, but you go into your main function and you would say like, okay, well, I'm going to build this creature. I'm going to create a new creature, and I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to give it a bird, or would you say monster?
A minotaur.
A minotaur. I'll give it a minotaur. That's the name of it. Well, there would be another file that would have minotaur and all the things that the minotaur does. I don't know what a minotaur does.
It's like half man, half horse.
Yeah, it's like the bullish kind of thing, you know.
So okay, so it's a half man, half horse. So it might have 4 legs, so or you might have a sprite.
Centaur.
So like that's how you would implement image to the game. You would use a sprite, and a sprite is just an image. It can be whatever size. I'm using 32 by 32, but you have a minotaur, and you pass that into your minotaur file, which you grabbed from the base information, like the position, from the creature file or the creature function. So now you have these 2 separate files that are doing 2 separate things. And why is that? Well, this is great because now you have the capability of then plugging in, like if I go back to a diagram full of this, see how the duck is like separate from all the capabilities that flyable, the wings, does it quack, does it make noise, like things like that. So that's kind of how the idea goes. It's like my creature is like this centerpiece, and then from there I can then pull or add to it the minotaur. Minotaur could have, I don't know, a certain weapon. Well, I can then create a weapon completely based, a weapon base completely separate from that, and it's not reliable, and then I can implement that as well. Let's see, an enemy or a player. player would then be separate from there. So now they're not tied together, not coupled, and that's what inheritance kind of does. So I don't know if anyone is familiar with inheritance, but if you go through inheritance and you get too deep into it, you can really get stuck to where now you're just, that's what you can use and that's it. And if you ever want to do anything else to it, you're kind of stuck. You're just, that's it. There is, but you're gonna have to do a lot of work. And it's a headache. And a lot of people, what is it called? There's a saying for it. It's like inheritance, debt, I don't know, there's something like that. But there's like a saying for it. But that kind of gets you into, but yeah, going back to that example of like why we would go and build this creature and then add a minotaur or enemy or player that's separate files. So it's not just creatures though. Like I did mention weapons. So if you wanted to build like a weapon, you would build a base to it. It'd be a base file. Similar to this creature, it'd be like type, let's say melee struct, and it has all the basic information for your melee. And so then you would go and like, well, there's different types of melees. There's like swords, just axes or maces and things like that. So then you would have files that are just built towards these things. And then you can create the type of attributes geared towards that. But the melee struct is the core of it, the base of it. And it's not the base in the sense of like a parent or in an interface or inheritance. It's more just like you're creating a bunch of little bases with composition. And that's kind of like, I guess, a lot of people's gripe about it is like composition, you're going to be building a lot of this stuff from, and not building on top of it. So like composition, composition is going to have you building piece by piece, but once you build it once, you're kind of set from there. So then you're kind of like able to move this to another project, and this is where I'm going to get to in the hyper flexibility of this is like, so in Golang, going back to the language itself, they call them packages, which is just a file. Every language has its own little terminology, has its own way of saying the same thing. That's essentially what it is. And it's just, you have your package, which I have right here is your creature file, which you wouldn't say file, you would just say creature, and that's it. And it would just be a folder. And then you have a file inside of it, which is just creature.go, let's say that. And from there, you would use whatever you would reference it, because now it's not part of the main file, the main package. So then you would just kind of reference it and utilize it. Well, what if I have no project? What if you just decide to be a fighter game, a 2D fighter game? Let's say that. That's great, right? That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So it still has a creature. It still has a player, right? So you're still building a player out of it. You're still using position X and Y in a 2D game. So now I have this X and Y creature that I want to use, or I don't have to build it anymore. So I know I just grab this creature package and then drop it right into my new project, which is now my new fighter game. It's going to do all this crazy cool stuff in it. And now I have this already built out. I don't have to do that anymore. And if you have other pieces that will, complement your fighter game from a different project or something you build, then you just grab that and then plug it in. And you're just now referencing the packages that you have already created. They're not tied to anything. They're now ready to use. They're ready to go. You just call that function, put in the parameters it needs, and then pass it to now the file that you're going to be using for that project, which now you create. And so that's kind of the beauty of the flexibility that you can be able to do with composition and just, it has a lot of very good principles to it. Yeah, question.
So it sounds like composition's way more complex to set up than inheritance.
It
Its
can.
inheritance sounds
You have to
like
think
it.
about it
Like,
more.
yeah.
So you have to kind of like boil everything down to like really fundamental, like base stuff
Mm-hmm.
before you start. Because if you start, like say you have like a dog or a cat, and you start adding some similar things, and you're just duplicating your code in there. So you just kind of want to take that the basis of those two things and then pull that away. If you want to think about it, like whenever you're building something, you see yourself repeating a lot. Well, then take a step back and then like say like, oh, I could probably pull this out and now build a file or package for that, and then I can then pull that into my whatever you already had it in,
Mm-hmm.
and just calling now this function, just giving you the information back for that.
Okay, nice, yeah.
So that's kind of what it does. I'm not too familiar with some other. I've seen some examples from like which one was it? I think it was C#, honestly, where they do like the composition style. So you can do it in C#.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen examples of it. I think because there's quite a bit of languages can do that.
Yeah.
Not all of you have to check, but I'm not too sure like who's from comfortable with a certain language to build on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of up to you, but it's just a good principle and a good technique to think about when you're jumping into a new project. I'm not saying you have to do it this way, but if you were to jump in a new project and you want to try something that's going to be a little bit more, a little bit easier once you get into it, like fully into it, and you're not having to like pull your hair out because you built this amazing piece to it, but then now you want to add this new thing that now is going to break everything once you add this new parameter or new variable that then just kind of ruins that. Or maybe, or you're just adding more stuff to it, like functions that you don't need. So you might have to like null them or just give them nothing, even though they're not using them. Like things like that.
It's almost like you're designing with purpose.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But the cool thing is like, you don't have to go into it always like that.
Yeah.
I think I've seen people, or I don't know if you guys watch Prime Time, or what's that guy, Prime? That the guy
Primogen.
Huh?
Primogen,
The Prime or Prime Time guy. He's like, he
YouTube developer.
Yeah.
Prime. Terminal.
Yeah.
Terminal.
He talks about it, and he's like, just create something, and then like I said, like once you start seeing yourself repeating, and once you kind of have that moment to like look at it, then you can start kind of structuring it towards like what you're gonna be doing about it. Yeah, I guess in CS you're kind of told like you're really not showing this a little so much. You're showing more inheritance because I guess that's just how they teach it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not really showing any other techniques until recently. TSA decided to add a more modern language to a upper level course, which is awesome. So that's what I recommend if you ever get a chance to take one of Sam's classes. I think he's the guy that's going to be developing that game track.
Cool.
But that's a kind of the great thing about composition. And just a quick conclusion on going back to that quote, well, what did it mean? I don't know if you guys think about it at all. Probably not. But it was from a book, and of course, and of course that's it. That's that. And the meaning just really means like the measures you put in is the same measure you get out. So, and that's what kind of composition is like, yes, it's gonna be tedious, yes, you have to put that effort in it. But at the end of it, it's going to be easy for you because now you have this like really robust, functional. Because you can create a same thing of what that was. It could be just a bunch of conditions. It could be inside the main file that you're using, the main .go file. It could be in there, and it could be doing exactly what you want. It could be working perfectly, but you can't just pull it and put it in another project. And that's the whole point of it. It's like you want to be able to like grab these things, or even test it, because then you can actually add your own test packages in there and go about it in that way. Like maybe you want to test I don't know, the way that the characters move, or maybe the way they damage, or maybe they display something on the screen. Maybe you want to test that, or you can have a package just for testing that.
Mm-hmm.
You just build that and then just throw it into any project at any point, because it was built that way. So that's the great thing about it. And yeah, it has that. And that's where I kind of tie the quote from earlier to this, is because that measure you put in is going to be the measure that same measure that you get out of it. And so that kind of was the meaning of that whole quote. And the next bonus part is Flappy Bird. What about Flappy Bird? Well, okay, this is the question. What would you think the hardest part about that? What would it be? Like creating that? If you had to do it from scratch,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I'd say the animation for me. I'm bad at drawing.
Like the bird kind of jumping up and down, like trying to get that.
Yeah, the whole physics side of that? Yeah. There's no right or wrong answer. We always this is kind of like an exercise we did in our class, but we would always just talk about it, and everyone would just give their opinion on what they see to be the most difficult part of it. And some things would be a little bit more challenging than others. Yeah, of course. Animation, physics, like you would have to build a whole physics package for that.
The randomization of the pipes.
Yeah, or okay, so they have to come in randomly, they have to be set a certain way.
Yeah.
So, and funny thing is we had to actually recreate that whole thing in that course. So
The game.
Yeah. So he had us do that, and then you got to see you actually got to see what challenge was for you. Because the challenge for you was going to be a challenge for you, or me, or him, or whoever else is doing it. So it's that's why he would always in the beginning of the class ask us, what was the challenge that you guys experienced, and what you saw in that game. So it just helps you think about it, because you're always going to have to think about it when you're building these games, especially from scratch. And the great thing about this is once you get an understanding of this, and you get those principles stuck in your head, and you start building it, and you're able to really build out games, really make them complex, and things like that. And once you get to the engine, and this is what I get told, like I said, I'm just grabbing a lot of this stuff from the expert that I was fortunate to take his course with this whole game programming. You're able to go into those engines and be very knowledgeable. You know what these things, even though they're not the base of it, you already have an idea of okay, these two parameters, they're going to do something that's going to give me back this, or it's adding this sound. I know what this sound's going to do, things like that, and how this sound's going to maybe not know the actual details of it, but you know kind of how it works in the background.
Yeah, sound design is always pretty hard. Keeps people involved in the game.
So believe it or not, that's probably going to be one of your biggest things in the game, is how to manage your sound. From what I've been told, at least. I'm not too sure, but I know when that was one thing that he used to optimize the game, was managing those sounds, and when to play them, when to cut them off, things like that, because it'll take up a lot of your space.
So logic too, to have when to appear, when to not appear.
Well, there's so Reglet has a cool little functionality. So for larger files, this is getting more technical, but for larger files, you want it streaming. You don't want it loaded, because if you load all that stuff, it's going to take forever.
Yeah.
So you want it. There is an actual stream function in Reglet, so it's streaming. And for those larger sound files, that's what you use. Now, if you have a small WB file, you can load it. But if you have small files, but there's 1,000 or however many, that might take longer. So you might want to see how you want to manage that. But typically, those smaller files won't take that long. It's the larger ones, the 5 minute. You really don't want those being loaded as you're loading your game. You kind of want them streaming, and that's how I do it.
And by streaming, you're talking like server, like looking for like, is that like?
Yeah, it's just taking the data. It's not saving it anymore. It's just taking it and streaming it into the memory.
Gotcha.
It's not getting loaded, preloaded. Like it's just kind of like goes in. It doesn't get really saved, from my understanding. I guess let's see.
Maybe what I understand of streaming, it's like, why you see a lot of games like preload a bunch of stuff, or like why you're not a waiting zone. It's like loading all that data so that when you load in, that file is just always readily available.
Like web development, like lazy loading, or
Yeah.
nothing happening.
Yeah, and it's not like loading it onto your.
I think streaming is very similar to lazy loading.
It's like the data is being sent as you are. I guess
As you request it, right? Yeah.
It's not already there. Like it's not like I guess a stack of like memory. Like it already allocated this memory. It's like there it is. We can go retrieve that. It's more like, oh, we're requesting this now, and we're gonna get this back. But I'm gonna see if I can find it because there's the functions in here. Here you go.
So he's proficient when he can just scroll and find the stuff. I don't know if I can do that.
So these are all the functions in Raylet that we use when you're handling sound.
Cool.
Because it gives you a description. That's why.
I think I always like pay attention to like movie credits when like those like specific jobs come up. And I'm like, there's like a team of like 40 people that helped with like the Marvel universe, for one movie for audio. And like, I totally get it. It's crazy.
Yeah. That kind of blew, or kind of caught me off guard too, like when you told me that, or when you told the class. And I thought that was interesting because you would think physics or something else, which physics is like pretty brutal. Especially when you're dealing with, I think he showed us an example of like 1,000 balls. I can actually show you all this stuff.
You got the space, man.
The space is 24/7, so.
Yeah, so we can load up some of this stuff and we can get a big little glimpse of what it may look like.
About to find out if the bitrate can save this.
I think this is the new one. I want to show you the building first before we go into this. Failed.
This is something.
I broke something and I'm trying to fix it before Zach figures out that I broke it.
Oh no!
Moment of truth.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
There we go.
This is basic on the sound. But this is I think the one I turned in.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe we can all give you a grade. I'm kidding.
I like that green.
Yeah.
This is from Raywood's actual website, so shout out to Raywood. There's a lot of-
Not sponsored.
So here it is. It's just super basic. I have these super basic potions. I don't even think I can go through walls because I had a horrible time checking for walls at this stage. See, I don't even know where other go.
Is this all manually generated, or did you just generate it per run, like the map?
Oh, the map? No, the map is done randomly. I can show you that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so this is like,
He's already got the Flappy Bird down, no stress.
Yeah.
so what I did with this final project is I just grabbed all the other projects we did and pulled them all together
Remix. Yeah.
and then created this. So in one of them, where we got too close to a higher level or enemy than he died. That's why this happens. And so yeah, so we kind of just do the exact same thing. If you really want to see the nuts and bolts of everything, let's see. This, it's amazing looking at this and seeing what it is now when I started.
When's the last time you touched that project?
This one,
Yeah.
it's the same one, but this is the early, like very beginning of it.
Gotcha.
The one I turned in. So this is the original, or yeah, this is the original. Mind you, this was professor's work. So I have no hands on this. The only thing I added was the soft circle or soft squares, that's what it's called, which are just indented edges. I don't know if you noticed it. It's
Yeah.
plain. But yeah, all I did was that, and that was again another project that we had to do a little assignment. So, and this is essentially what's going on. I guess we can start from the, I don't know if you guys really want to look at me go through it.
Well, like maybe some good examples of like how you like took from your professor to like keep the composition or inheritance idea alive, right?
So, that would,
So-
let's see, the creature would be probably the best one. Let's see.
Because that was going to be kind of my biggest question was like, from what I've Googled before, it's like it almost seems easier to start with a composition mindset than it does to start with an inheritance mindset. Because like composition feels a little bit more flexible, right? Like you're building as you kind of go,
Yeah.
and inheritance is like I know everything that needs to go in here,
You
right?
you're kind of starting with the parent of it, of what that's going to be, and then you're adding it, and you're just adding subclasses on top of subclasses, and you just kind of keep going down. There are other, like, composition just is very, uses a lot of polymorphism and interfaces, which these are just terms that you'll learn as you go through object-oriented programming. But yeah, if you just want to kind of like dive into it, I would definitely look into those. Wikipedia does a pretty good job at like explaining it.
For
So I mean, I kind of went to that when I was going through it. But okay, so like the creature, like I was explaining, here's your structs. You just have, I gave you the basic level, color, position. I use ints. Again, you don't have to for this part. And this is just what you're gonna draw, so don't worry about this. It's like, if you ever see this is why I didn't want to get too technical, but this is just calling the library from Rayload. And this is just an alias that you'll place in front of Rayload's functions. So anything you see RL is just, that's coming from Rayload, and that's a function that they created. Everything else is Go. So, and this is kind of, I didn't talk about this, but embedding structs is another part of composition. Another cool tool. It's kind of like inheritance, I guess, but it's, you don't have to go, you can go as deep as you want, I guess. Even though Golang doesn't allow you to do that. But you can see that it's the creature, then the player embeds all the information from the creature. And I actually have an enemy in here that just takes in the creature because we don't need anything else from the player's actually moving, and I have an inventory that is being embedded in that as well. That's another struct. This is a struct, so we can go to this. It's like control C. No, there's a way to do it.
Go to?
Is it? Oh, here we go. There we go. So you can kind of see where that struct is. And all the properties inside of it. So it has slots, size, and then it has, again, I don't want to get too technical, but this is a slice. It's just an array. You see these two brackets. For anyone that's familiar with like data structures, things like that.
Have a best practice because it's plural potions. Kind of giving the array indicator.
Yeah, that's true.
Or just singular
practices,
poaching.
yeah.
Yeah.
or record or some other collection.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're familiar with Python, it's very similar to what Python is.
Mm-hmm.
So, the reason why he showed us Golang is because we had to, or they wanted to get some modern language, and it worked really well. Like if you go to Raylib's website, which is the tool to upload a lot of that stuff that you saw. So this is kind of like the parts it supports. So all the operating systems, it looks like. And then these are all the languages. Now there's more languages, I believe. There's a list.
Action.
Yeah, there's a list. Like see, there's about 60. So it looks like. So, yeah, if you find your favorite language, you can use Relay and develop.
Cool.
There's some examples of it. So if you see how I pulled the stream manager. It's exactly the same.
So I know you're working on a game right now, Zell. Like,
Yes.
what's been your idea from the beginning? Like, have you been like focused on composition, or have you been focused on
Yeah.
inheritance now? Like,
Oh,
when
it's
does
all
that
composition.
shift happen too? You know.
Well, since I'm working in Golang, it's only composition because Golang doesn't allow any inheritance.
Gotcha.
So the fact that I'm using Golang, it doesn't allow me to do that. So I'm kind of already in a good place. So I don't have to worry about that, which is great. I do have some embedding issues because I kind of got too carried away with embedding structs.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially with the player, so let me show you the actual project that I've been working on. So this is the new one, I was able to get it to work. You're gonna see a massive difference. I don't know why this is all really, which is great, I guess. So you can see that I've already created packages for a button. Cool. So this button is when I run it and it asks me to click. It's doing everything there. And this button can be used for anything. It's not limited. So that's what's great. It's the whole point of packages and composition. This is why we do it. Damage, same thing. This is a very complex damage system. And it handles everything that I need, and I can implement it everywhere, anything, enemy. This is how I'm gonna do for my bosses, however I want. It's amazing. So I have it there, just ready to go, and effects. So I have a hit indicator. This is where my hit indicator is at. So again, it's ready to go. It can apply to. Right now, it's being applied to the player whenever he damages, but then I can switch it for the enemy, so when he attacks me, I can gear it towards an enemy attack style. So this allows me to do that. So this is a hit manager package.
So that just kind of like the breakdown of like what composition offers.
The power of it.
Yeah.
And this is
Also Golang.
Yeah, again, yeah. But you can do it in other languages, and like all these other languages have the same kind of capability and same power in that sense. It's just what you're familiar with, and if you want to go this route, this technique, things like that.
Cool.
Golang does allow a lot of like abstract things to happen. So slices are these all-in-one array vectors, things like that, like, to where you don't have to build all that out. Like if you're in C++, you have huge files, headers of doing all this stuff to get that thing to do what you want. Let's see what else. We can go down.
So you have to leave your viewers or the classroom almost, right? With like one final thing of like, you know, why you should pre-plan all this stuff for your game development.
Why?
Yeah, why? You know,
Well,
you can reference your quote, right? Yeah.
So if you were to, I guess the main reason why you would do that is if you're going to keep building games. Now, if you just want to build a game, just to build a game, you know, inheritance. But I would say even that alone, inheritance can get into this inheritance hell. That's what it is, inheritance hell. So you can get stuck in this inheritance hell where it's like you're now stuck because kind of like what I was talking about earlier, where my creature, my player, my enemies, like I can't move them in other packages without decoupling the structs
Mm-hmm.
and then just passing what it needs. And once I do that, then I can, which is great because it's only 2 pieces. Now if you're in inheritance, sometimes you can go like 7 layers deep plus, now you're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And it requires, though there is a great video, it kind of shows that decoupling stage of the whole like process of inheritance, parent, and all the subclasses. And then when you want to install, like I think he uses the images because he's in his, I think when you're building an image or when you're manipulating images, things like that, and you want to add some more stuff, it might break it because that what you're trying to do for this image might not be what these other 2 that you started out with, but it still has the base of that. So and so that could be the reason why, or that's one of the main reasons why you wouldn't want to go inheritance. Plus, inheritance is just, it's an older thinking, because if you go even into data and bases, they use composition a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we were shown, is composition. And they talk about inheritance as well, but they talk about it in like a hierarchy. Like you start from the top and then kind of work, you build the tables down.
Yeah.
Similar to inheritance. So that's why you would do it. It just makes it more flexible, so where you can, you're not dealing with headaches down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you decide to build a new project because you get inspired by something, you're not having to recreate all that code over again. You just grab those packages. Similar like if I needed to build another game with images, I'm ready to go. I'll just grab this package right here, copy it, and paste it into a new game. I'm ready to go. Same with my cleanup manager. I'm building this guy out, so I clean up everything in my game. Like, all the stuff that I don't need, it needs to be killed. You know how we're in the, what was it, that last talk where the image, when he moves, he pans, do we want to take that away because it's using resources? It's similar.
Nice.
This cleanup package is doing similar things. Like once it's loading into a new part of this, a new screen, do I want all that stuff still existing? No, I want to get rid of it. I want to start over, or there's some things I want to keep. So this is kind of like handling all that.
Mm-hmm.
So these are just, and let's see if it works.
Go home and truth.
Let's see if it works.
Okay, it does.
There we
So
go.
this is the newer version. This is like the newest version.
The dungeon game.
And so like, that's like, this is the button. That package I showed you, this is it, it's right here. And I can click on it, boom, I'm in the game. And you can see a huge difference from the final project.
That's awesome.
And the actual, what's going on.
Oh,
So like, okay, we have, so I had an inventory, great, I can just do that.
stop, drop, throw, oh, ah.
And so we
Yes!
we move on.
Is that a bomb?
No. Just kidding. These are little potions.
I like the fog of war kind of vibe you got going on too.
Yeah,
I like that.
I updated it to where it's lesser reviews. It's not as big, so it's a little bit more unknown when you move.
You have to actually explore.
Yeah, like you feel like you're exploring. It's not even so much. So yeah. So you can see the difference between the two from the little project that started in MBTSA and what it is now. And I don't know, look at how these look. They're about to kill me.
Oh, man.
4 HP, that's great. Let's see. All right, let's see what we died. Okay, we died. You didn't see them. So now we're like, there's the button again. It's new things exit on. Okay, cool. Back here now. And the cleanup didn't work. Like it should have.
Yeah, that's part of the development process, man.
Yeah, it worked before, but the other parts did. I think it's because when I was adding the buttons, I was messing around with the different, because all the inventory items are still here. Yeah, so.
Cool. Well, I appreciate that. You know, I don't have any questions in chat, but thanks for the chat today. So.
No, it's fun to showcase and show that what you can do just by some of these
Hang out.
principles that will help you achieve what you're gonna be building.
That's cool. Well, thank you for that, Zell. Like, I kind of want to leave it off because I don't know if you introduced like too much at the beginning. But like, what do you do right now? Like, you're a recent graduate of UTSA? Like, what's your full time right
still
now?
looking.
Yeah.
I guess independent developer at the moment because I'm developing this game.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, get some traction. But yeah, so if anyone wants to reach out, collab, or just needs some help, things like
You're
that.
looking to build for this month or build in the future? Definitely hit my guy up, Zell here. So yeah, excited for that kind of stuff. So, well, thanks for that, Zell. Like, I think like thinking about like how you compose things in the beginning and in even in the end is always pretty important to think about, right?
Yeah, it is, and it's very helpful because now you have these great little packages that you can then implement anywhere, as you can see, like from the whole file system. And that's just the beginning. I mean, once you get into it and you get to these really, I guess, enterprise levels type stuff, you're gonna be doing that. From my understanding, is a lot.
And from way more people.
Yeah, from way more people that are contributing to this.
Yeah, so structure is highly important in that situation. So
exactly. So you want to have that capability. I think. I don't know how every business works, but yeah.
Yeah. So before we leave off here, I have a couple final announcements before we wrap up today. But where can they find you, Zell?
I think my LinkedIn's on there.
Yeah.
So that's the best way. I'm also on Discord with you guys on DevSA. So if you ever see me on there, just
the DMs are open.
Yeah.
So looking to collab, looking to work, or looking for someone to work for you, hit my guy Zell.
Awesome.
So awesome. Well, thanks for that, Zell. We're gonna wrap up with some final announcements here. We're coming into the last week and a half of our builders event. So tomorrow is our first builders night. So if you're curious about what to do, if you're just getting started, if you're looking for a team, or you just want a space to come hang out with everybody, we'll be at Camp tomorrow night. It's basically the same time, 6 to 8, or until Brandon gets tired. So we'll be there for a little while. So come hang out with us, come build, come vibe with us. That leads into a busy weekend for us. We have a big day at Techport over here in San Antonio. So we have a 3-part. We'll be from 11 to 4. We'll be over there from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. I won't be live streaming that due to just the fact of the sheer amount of talking that's going to happen. But definitely come join us. Like, the space is there for you. We'll have some snacks and stuff like that. It's a little bit less than what we had talked about at the beginning of the year, but we have 3 parts. We have a 2-hour talk. So Marco is still going to be there. So whoop, whoop. So he'll have a 2-hour talk on just game development with Unreal in general. And then we have a newcomer, Brittany. She was actually supposed to join us at ACM San Antonio last year. So excited to have her coming back. So she'll be talking on game development specifically, and you'll even get to build something with her really quickly. And then we also have another recent UTSA graduate, Calvin. If you're a student from UTSA recently, he gave a workshop over Minecraft modding. I need to go recover what he's actually built or remind myself of what he's built, but he's actually a mod developer for a pretty popular mod that's listed all over for Minecraft. So come get some insights from him, come see how he's done that. And, it's just another side of game development, right? The game is already out there. People like to contribute to it. So all that's happening on Saturday. Exactly.
The Saturday event is now free.
Yeah, it's free. So please come. For those that did pay, there's refunds on the way. So just so you know that out there. And then also following up virtually, not in person, but I'm going to give a quick little workshop on how to submit to DevPost. There is a bunch of videos, which I'll be sharing, but I'll be giving a quick overview about what's going on. So hopefully you can get those projects in. And it's what I'll be referring to when the event's over or coming close to an end. But before I keep talking too much, but we also have another builders night here at Geekdom. On the 7th floor, correct me if I'm wrong? Third floor. Okay. So that'll be our final night to build. So hopefully, if you're still working on your project or want to just come hang out, the space is open for everybody. We have it reserved from 6 to 8.
24/7 access.
Yeah, so We have a lot of time there, and that evening will be the final time to be able to submit your project. So 11:59 on June 27th is when submissions will close. Some more information about coming out to present for that following day for June 28th. I know I put TBA, but we officially know our space. We're going to be at UTSA's where we did our kickoff. You'll come there to showcase. We have some judges lined up to come give to come review based on the criteria. And also a little bit of note, if you're going to come to Builders Night tomorrow night, you'll find out what all the prize categories are. You won't find out what the prizes are, but you'll know what all the categories are. So I'm excited for that. That kind of leads into our final day on the June 28th. So hoping you can come out. Even if you didn't submit a project, you're totally welcome to come out and present, or just come check out the projects that were created. So excited for that all to be happening. Big shout out to our partners. TechBlock's been a pretty big contender. DevSA with Jesse in the background and me on the board with them. So excited for the space. And as always to our other sponsors and partners. So excited to have, I need to put Alma Tech Collective's logo up here, but Student Success Center, Diversion, a monetary sponsor, and Unreal Engine Group that's hanging out. So hopefully you can see y'all around. Hopefully to see y'all these last few events, and excited for y'all to be building. And thanks, Zell, again for hanging out with us.
Oh no, thank you.
Cool. Well, I'll see y'all later. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Adios.